What is up, Bucs fans? We are live here on a Thursday night. It's a different night for us at Real Bucs Talk, but really excited to talk about this matchup. You know, the Bucs versus the Lions, and welcome in my good friend Ken Barrett. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you
Doing
again.
well. You can be my Gene tonight.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about this? Just overall. I mean, wild Buccaneers season. We didn't think this team was going to do anything in the playoffs, and now all of a sudden they're only crazy enough, only 2 wins away from a Super Bowl appearance. So
Yeah,
it's
no.
like pretty wild.
I think most people, and this was the storyline last week, we had nothing to lose.
Right.
I really think that's this week. I mean, we've seen the Lions before. We saw, again, some things that didn't go the Bucs way. A couple explosive plays, mainly the Jameson Williams, deep shot over Ryan Neal. Take a play like that away, the Bucs are in the game. I think the Bucs have only shown improvement since that game. Really to end the season and then into the postseason. The Lions, we just kind of know what they are at this point. So it's like, hey, are the Bucs going to keep up? And the defense is what is Todd Bowles going to bring out? Because if I can see Kalijah Kancey at the middle linebacker spot,
Right.
a 285-pound middle linebacker coming down at you, like it's only going to get interesting. And
Mhm.
can we keep up? If we keep up with the Lions, I think that's going to just point our arrow up for next year, even if we lose. And again, I think it's a win-win for everyone at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're playing with house money, right? Because I mean, when you look at this season, I think it has to be. It's definitely a success, right? Especially after what we've been through, salary cap wise, the loss of Tom Brady, changing
Right.
offensive coordinators, and just new personnel, especially a lot of youth, a lot of changes on the offensive line. And that's a position you played, so you know how difficult that is as far as switching sides. I mean, Tristan Wirfs had anxiety from it, just going from the right to the left, like, so it's a big deal. And of course, he's been elite all year, and the growth of Luke Gedeke, and then you have Cody Mock and all these guys playing, pretty well. And not to mention, the lack of running game, and now it's starting to pick up a little bit. It's been better, especially in the second half, um, and then just the whole Devin White thing with that, and like, um, so yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. I mean, Krillin saying the audio does sound weird. Is that me, Krillin? Do I sound different?
Yeah, no, it sounds good for me, but
Okay.
he's the
Yeah,
only one. I don't know, maybe.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Krillin, if you're not used to Pless's voice right now, he did lose it
Yeah,
after the Bucks went on Sunday, so he probably just sounds different. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit lower. That's just because he lost his
yeah.
voice. He's a true
Yeah,
Bucks.
I lost my voice. I mean, if I sound like Barry White, that's fine. It's all
No,
good.
that one
I'm
night on Gene's podcast when you sounded like Barry White, that was different. See, I know the difference between that and what I'm hearing
okay. All right. Very
right
good.
now.
Very good. All right. Well, it's fine. I mean, if you say I have a sexy voice, then that's all good. I mean, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, just looking at this matchup, and I'll bring this up here. Let me bring this back up to the screen. I mean, the ESPN obviously doesn't think we have a chance in this game. Detroit has played very well. I mean, obviously 12-5 on the season, um, and doing a lot of good things. Offensively, Jared Goff, he's been really consistent. They have a good running game with David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs. And then Armand St. Brown is just a reception machine, and obviously a lot of yards there too. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the Lions? I mean, what do you think the game plan should be, especially our defense against them?
Yeah, versus last week, it was, Jalen Hurts has the hurt finger. How can we stop the run? I think Ben Johnson and Jared Goff have shown against the Bucks. Ben Johnson really only the Week 6 game this year, but Jared Goff when he was with Sean McVay that the run game doesn't even matter. I mean, they had prime Todd Gurley, and they really refused to even run against us in Los Angeles when Goff was there.
Right.
And, Ben Johnson in week 6, yes, David Montgomery got hurt early, but I really don't think the Montgomery was in their plans. I think it's pretty much a lock that Jared Goff's going to throw over for 300 yards, and I really think Amon-Ra is at least going to go over 80. That's just because that's just the standard of what their offense is. Ben Johnson can really scheme things open. I think Amon-Ra is going to get his, sure, just as like Mike Evans gets his and Chris Godwin gets his. Like, that's just going to happen. I don't think fans should be discouraged. What's really going to make the difference is that name that you mentioned earlier to me is Jahmyr Gibbs. Is he going to be that guy who's going to get those explosive plays? Amon-Ra is the Chris Godwin. He's going to move the sticks. He's going to keep their offense on schedule. But Jahmyr Gibbs is the difference between having the ball at your own 40 and going 60 yards for a touchdown. That's just what wins the games in playoffs. And when we won in 2019 versus Goff, it was that Shaq Barrett interception. It was that Ndamukong Suh fumble recovery. Is this defense going to get some turnovers? Because I think yards are just going to happen in this game. And I think Bucs fans should be discouraged if Goff has a 300-yard passing game. But if we can keep the offense for them under 400, limit the run game, keep them under 100, I think that's just going to be the game script that's just going to take place.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at last week's game against the Eagles, obviously that's not going to be the plan because Jared Goff is very good against the blitz. So it's going to be important. Can we win with 4, maybe 5-man pressures? Can Kalijah Kancey play like he did last week against a Detroit Lions front, which he did have success that first matchup in week 6 where he did pretty well for his first game back. I mean, people forget that was his first game playing, and he did get some pressures in that game and played pretty well. So looking at that, can you get your group as a front 4 working together and find ways to disrupt Jared Goff? And I think, can you maximize coverage on the outsides, maybe play a little bit more press man with 2 guys over the top, take away that middle of the field, because that's where they're going to try to attack with, Sam Laporta. And then you have, Amon St. Brown going across the field. So if you can limit that and find a way to get Goff off his first read, because we know Goff likes to just go first read and get rid of the football quickly. If you can make him hold the football an extra second, maybe a half second, that can be the difference between, a good play and a bad play. And obviously Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, that's going to be something to look for, especially in the passing game. Can we stop those screens? Can we stop, just his option routes and stuff like that? So defensively, I agree with you. I think really the key in this game is going to be red zone. Like, who can score touchdowns in the red zone, right? And Detroit's defense is really good in there, and so is ours for the most part. Our defense has been good in the red zone too. So can we hold them to field goals? Can we find a way to create opportunities for touchdowns and catch the ball, right? Kate Otten got to catch the ball. Mike Evans, you got to make those plays. And there's going to be plays to be made, especially against their defense where they like to play super aggressive. They really sell out to stop the run like Detroit does. Like, they are all about stopping the run. Their corners do that as well. They really commit. The safeties come down really hard. And that's why when we look back at that first matchup, we had a lot of opportunities down the field. It's just, can we freaking hit the pass, right? Mike Evans probably should have had a touchdown early, and it gets picked. And then Trey Palmer, misses a touchdown before.
I think that's the game Baker missed, 3 or 4 down the field passes to Palmer.
Right. Yeah, to Trey Palmer. There were some misses to Mike Evans. I mean, so there was opportunities. And obviously, I think this offense is much more comfortable now. I think Baker sees it a lot better than he did previously. So that could make a big impact. So are we looking at a game where it could be, 31-28? Are we looking at a game where maybe 27-24, somewhere in that range? I think so. I think it could be somewhere in that range, potentially. It's just, can we do enough to outduel, this Lions offense? Because like you said, I do think they will be able to move the ball. It's just, how can we manufacture stops at the right time? That's going to be important. And then offensively, making sure we attack the right way. Because last week I thought it was beautiful in how they attacked. Again, they opened up with a pass. They kept throwing the football.
Pass, play action were your first 3 plays. And
Right.
you got like a 30, 40 yards in chunks, and then
Yep.
you established the run. Yeah, it didn't end in 7, but you
Right.
set the momentum and you had the Eagles defense, especially their weak secondary, playing on their heels so
Right.
that front 4 couldn't eat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how you have to play it again this week. I think you got to find a way to get Baker in rhythm early, get him easy completions, move the pocket if you have to, just do different things, and really stay aggressive with that pass first mindset. That was huge. And guess what? When you ran the ball, it worked because these guys were backing off, right? The linebackers weren't as close to the line of scrimmage. You had room, you had guys spread out. So it just makes things a lot simpler and easier, where, okay, we can mix a run here and there and get maybe 3 to 4 yards, and that's all they need. And then you pass after that, and it continues to keep things, on schedule, right? I think that's the biggest thing for this offense, and taking care of the football, which they did. Now it's just about, can we execute these plays? Because they're going to be there, they're going to be open. And can we find ways to get, touchdowns instead of 3? Even though Chase McLaughlin, my God, give that man the lifetime contract. I mean, he's been money so far. Really don't want to talk about him because I don't want to jinx him. But man, he's been so good.
He's earned a contract just as much as anyone has for our free agent.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, and let's talk a little bit about just the storylines of this game. I know a big one has been like the comparison between Goff and Baker. I think Baker's been the bigger story. I mean, just the way what's your opinion on that, as far as just those two guys and their different backgrounds, but similar in a way, from that standpoint, as far as changing teams and stuff?
Yeah, and I think even just keeping it Bucs internally for a second would help. I think everyone's comparing, Brady 2022 versus Baker 2023. You're comparing apples and oranges there. Jared Goff was in one of the easiest offenses in the NFL to operate. Brady was in the worst last year. Now you throw Baker in a similar system to what Goff runs, to what McVay runs. That system is by Shane Waldron is pretty similar. And what that allows you to do is to have easy reads. Baker, I think, I still am critical where he misses a lot of the easier reads. But what we saw was an offense that passed for, 4,000, just over 4,000 yards. The offense last year, you had more yards, but it was a struggle. A lot of them was late in games. Our rushing offense is significantly improved. And what that allows you to do is to be able to, play a little bit more play action, be able to be more explosive down the field instead of, chunk, 5 yards here, 5 yards here, 5 yards here. That's great. But, you need those chunks down the field. And I'm pretty notorious for not loving Baker. And I know you were a little bit more optimistic going into the season than I was. But what I've really seen is we can be successful even without your quarterback playing perfect. And when he has been, which was the Jags game, the Eagles game last week, the Packers game, we've at least seen what the high is. We didn't get to see what the high was last year with our quarterback, unless it was under 4 minutes to go and you're down 2 scores.
Yeah.
We were in these games controlling the score, even offensively, which is great because I think this team still needs to rely on their defense. And I think that Baker has really shown that he's at least where before last week, I'd probably say he earned 1 year, give him 25 million or whatever, figure it out. I think he's really earned that second, maybe even third year. And what that allows you to do is to keep continuity, because I don't think Dave Canales is going to go after the wrong opportunity. So what you're really seeing is Baker's in a situation that makes him comfortable, that he doesn't have to press nearly as much. And Goff, what you're seeing is, okay, McVay shipped him off for Stafford, won a Super Bowl, but the Lions showed you how to really build an organization where you don't need Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen to have consistent, sustained success. And I really think that Ben Johnson might even stick around there longer. So what you're going to probably see over the next 3 years is maybe the best years of Goff's career and probably the best years of Baker's career.
Hmm.
It's organizations doing the right things, hiring the right people, and taking the right chances. Because, I mean, Dave can also be the first to tell you, no one was giving him an opportunity. Todd Bowles did, and he gets teary-eyed just trying to talk about that to the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that's, that's huge for both quarterbacks, just having that stability, having that, that team that's been built around them to make them have, more consistent success like you're talking about. And, offense coordinators that are giving them answers to be successful, that's huge, especially with what Baker's had to deal with a lot of third downs, a lot of third and fives, just because of how we operate. Running the football hasn't been obviously consistent. And I just realized that Rachaad White had the second most rushing attempts, which that's pretty wild. I didn't know that. And I think in like the first half of the season, he was only averaging maybe 2 yards a carry.
Just in the Eagles game
Yeah.
alone, the first game, 14 for 38, mind you, in week 3 when we were 2-1 at that point.
Right.
And then last week, 18 for 72, a 4-yard average versus a 2.3.
Yeah.
That's huge in a game.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. And it's just so yeah, really I'm Batman. But just looking at the comments.
I'm Batman. Roland's loving your voice tonight.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate all you guys are in here that are joining us. I know this is kind of last minute, but we wanted to talk about this game, and just a great time to be a Buccaneers fan, just seeing all the things, all the possibilities, even not this year, but next year, and just looking at how, Jason Light, he's one of the best, right? He is doing a great job. His staff doing amazing things as far as building this team. And you just look at the pieces that we have in place now moving forward, and especially a lot of young pieces, Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Diaby, the list goes on on offense with Cade Otton and Rachaad White, still only second-year players. Cody Mock. You pretty much have the line set. Yeah, could we use him in left guard? Sure.
80 million would help that problem.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing. Like, we're going to have cap space this offseason coming up. So there'll be room to make, moves.
They're going to help that too.
Right.
Like the Wirfs extension, the Winfield extension.
Yeah.
Those are going to help.
Winfield.
Mike Evans. Those are going to help just as much as they're going to take away from what the Bucs have some cap. They don't have like 80 million like the Bears do or whatever, but
right.
They have enough, and then we already know you can manipulate it. But again, you're going to have a lot more wiggle room to start with. So when you do the wiggle room, it's just really going to extend your window of opportunity, because the Bucs aren't going to go out, and I saw someone, have the Bucs at the top 3 teams to get Brian Burns. That ain't going to happen. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but what you are going to see is improvements over the Ryan Neal signings. You're going to get a better mid-tier safety if you don't draft one to pair with Antoine Winfield Jr., or a better left guard than Aaron Stinney if they choose to move on to a different direction there. Those are the types of moves that take you from one level to the next, because what's the GM we heard all offseason? Howie Roseman hit the home run in the draft. He got Jalen Carter. He got Nolan Smith. He made all of these signings, to make the Eagles the best roster in the NFL. Well, Jason Light, without not even just without Tom Brady, but without money to manipulate, came out and beat that team in the playoffs. And yet we don't hear Jason Light's name. He didn't even get really that much credit for 2020. You know what I mean? So that tells you Antoine Winfield literally needed Good Morning Football, all of these respected names just to come out to get him an all-pro. Tristan Wirfs doesn't even get talked about the way that he did without Brady. Levante David's still not getting the talk that he should without Tom Brady. That's just the reality we face here in Tampa. But as long as Light's at the helm, I'm good. I trust whatever he does. And Light we trust is something in draft year I usually spew a bunch. But he does more than just the draft. There's the trades for JPP, the trade for Gronkowski, the trade for Bruce Arians, the Shaq Barrett $4 million signing, the Ndamukong Suh over Gerald McCoy. I can go on and on for days. Yes, there's Roberto Aguayo. Okay. There's also Kalijah Kancey. I'm sorry, and I was on the stream with you guys when that pick was made, and I looked at you and Mark, and you guys were just in utter shock.
Right.
And look how good of a pick that is.
I still can't believe it that he's a Buccaneer. It's
the next 5 years plus, because he's gonna get the option and then some. Probably.
It's unreal. I mean, he's really grown into a really great GM. I mean, I think his first couple of years, I think he was definitely trying to figure things out, and obviously, he still made home run picks with Mike Evans, and you still got.
I still think the first 2 years are more Lovey.
Right.
But then, he missed one draft? Okay.
Yeah, I think 2016 draft probably his worst one. But again, he's learned so much. I think he's had improved processes with free agency a lot better. Obviously getting a great team around him as far as the front office, and Mike Greenberg, hopefully he stays around. We don't want to lose him. But he's still got great people with him, so Jackie. So just a really good organization, and just seeing this organization find sustained success. I mean, 4 straight playoff appearances. Now you're in the divisional round again, going up against a really good opponent in the Detroit Lions, and a lot of people are not giving us much chance in this game, but I think that's a good thing. I think that's really cool. Like, playing the underdog role, I think that embraces our mentality. And I mean, it's crazy that these tickets up in Detroit over $1,000, like that is.
But I think that's respect, though.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that
really
storyline
cool.
last week.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Detroit Lions fans are excited to not only obviously watch their team, but I think Baker Mayfield is. If there wasn't a player who literally died on a field at the end or near the end of the season last year, and came back and actually played in NFL games, Baker Mayfield is the comeback player of the year. He's obviously going to be rewarded with a handsome contract. Is it $80 million? Is it $100 million? He's getting somewhere in that ballpark. He's the story. I mean, I know we're all coming off of, yes, ESPN only talks about Brady the past 3 years, and, we want to be known for. But the reality is they're going to talk about our quarterback. And again, if Baker continues making strides year to year, after what we saw this year, I think it's only encouraging, considering he's still younger. He's not 33 like Geno Smith was, who had to sit for 7 years and finally got an opportunity. And he's a number 1 overall pick. He has talent. He just needs to play with a little bit more within the offense, in my opinion. But his mistakes aren't Quan Alexander or Devin White bad. Let's be real here. I mean, I critique him, but I'm also nitpicking what the perfect, okay, how did he not see this? Like on a 3rd and 2, you run a play action, there's a tight end. Our young boy, Payne Durham, is standing right there in the flat wide open, and he double pumps it and tries to hit something over the middle and takes a sack. Okay, that's one play. We also saw the other plays he made, and also the plays where the wide receivers or tight end let him down. So you have to ride the waves there. But the point is, I think Detroit fans are excited to play Tampa, A, because they probably think it's a realistic win. Okay, that's fine. But B, I think the Bucs are the most the Bucs and Texans right now are the talk of the town in terms of no one expected this preseason or now.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I mean, the Texans, I mean, my goodness, the beatdown they put on the Browns, I did not expect that to go like it did, but
thanks, Joe. Say it ain't Joe with those toothpicks.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, CJ Stroud is playing unbelievable, and that should be a heck of a game on Saturday with the Texans in Baltimore. I'm really looking forward to that. See how that goes and see what happens. It just shows you, I mean, what coaching can do for a franchise, what stability can do, on your team as far as quarterback and offense, and just finding confidence, right? And finding ways to win. And I think that's what you've been seeing with this Buccaneers team, starting to get more confident, especially the younger players continue to progress and make consistent plays, right? So that's been a big factor for this team. And I want to talk a little bit about Todd Bowles before I get into another subject with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to talk about Todd Bowles because I know me and you see it pretty similar when it comes to Todd Bowles, and but I got to give the man some credit. Like he has made some adjustments and it has worked. Like it takes big balls for him to bench Devin White, and how he's done that, and understanding that KJ Britt is probably a better option to be out there. And just his management of the game, I think, has been a little bit better. Yeah, still not using the timeouts, but
yeah, I was gonna, my pop quiz to you in the chat was going to be how
Yeah.
many timeouts did Todd Bowles leave on the table on Sunday? I guess or Monday. I guess you already know the
I think that was all 6, right?
all 6. But in that game, he didn't need them, obviously.
Right. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that's the thing. Todd Bowles, it's all about in-game management, at least for me. If he can just figure, I mean, we're talking about Dallas, who they're talking about, oh, he doesn't know how to manage a playoff game, but he obviously knows how to win the regular season. Todd doesn't have a winning record as a coach. I think he just got to 500 with the most recent success with the Bucs. Okay, like that's great and everything. But I still think he has some improvement there. But if you're going to scheme like that defensively and your offensive coordinator is going to cook, that defeats whatever deficiencies you have in a call in going through a game as a head coach. I think it's also going to again give him more learning chances, sure. But again, I think the majority of head coaches in the NFL struggle with that. That's just the reality of the situation. But I think he's earned his flowers. I mean, I was on the camp, during that losing streak where, okay, it's not because we're on a losing streak, but what does winning do? It cures all. And I think if he's going to scheme like that, obviously he's not going to do that every week, especially during a regular season. But if I at least know if the Bucs are going to get into the postseason, he's going to pull out the 2020 Kansas City Chiefs playoff game or what he did on Monday night, I can live with the in between. Again, you just got to make the dance, and as long as Jason Light keeps improving the roster, and again, Todd Bowles doesn't have to be Bill Belichick, but we've also seen what Bill Belichick is without Tom Brady at this point.
Yeah,
so again,
right. Yeah.
Todd Bowles isn't perfect, but has he earned the right to coach the next 2 years just as much as Baker Mayfield has earned the right to quarterback the next 2 years? Yes. And I think you should marry Todd Bowles to Baker Mayfield to Dave Canales. That's just really where this organization is right now. And as long as Baker and Canales are doing their part and Todd Bowles coaches the way he did last week or really the past 2 weeks with the Panthers game, leaves that Saints game to really lie in the weeds. But the couple games before that, like if that's the standard, then he's going to be okay as a head coach. We just need to see that maybe not every week, but more consistently where both sides are doing their jobs. Still think Keith Armstrong needs to be fired. I'm sorry. I'm still on that train. Chase McLaughlin and then Jake Kamard has kind of gone off the weeds the past couple weeks, but they've been really good for all of the year, basically. That doesn't mask all of the problems with the special teams coordinator. So Todd Bowles, like you said, he benched Devin White. He hired Dave Canales. Now Keith Armstrong, to me, is that next piece that needs to go. Find me Rich Bisaccia. Find me someone who can coach the special teams better. But yeah, I just can't deal with Armstrong anymore. These coverage teams are so bad.
I concur with. I agree with that. I think the return units definitely need improvement. I think Devin Tompkins does it. Yeah, he does okay.
But there's no opportunities in front of him is my thing with
Right.
Devin Tompkins. Like you see these returners break one. It's never Devin Hester's amazing. Don't get me wrong. He's one of one.
Yes.
Most of your mid-tier quality returners, which is what Devin Tompkins is, you need help up front.
Right. And yeah,
coordinator.
but I mean, I agree with what you said about Bowles. I think him, Baker, Dave Canales, I think staying together, let Jason Light continue to build up this roster, like you said. Maybe that can continue to hide some of the deficiencies that they have as coaches. And I think, I mean, the big thing I see with Todd is that at least the players are all in with him. I think they really respect him as a coach. I think they like him. And they play hard for him. I don't think effort has ever been in question. So I think just making those little minor changes that he did, and even the change of bringing in Zion McCollum as a safety, like
bro, we haven't even mentioned that yet.
Yeah, that was big.
What he was doing, not just like I mentioned, the D tackles playing, middle linebackers and edges, like Anthony Nelson was playing linebacker, but the way that they came in and were able to blow up Chase and Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, that just took everything that Jalen Hurts is used to out of the equation. Well, Zion McCollum did the same exact thing because we're worried about, we mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown's probably going to get his yards. Christian Izien struggled versus Amon-Ra St. Brown. Granted, he's a rookie, undrafted rookie. You can't expect things to be great. He had a great start to the beginning of the year. Amon-Ra was his humble game. Well, now you have Zion McCollum, who has a year under his belt. Now he's done all these hybrid roles. You can bring Antoine Winfield to the slot too. Those three safeties, you don't know where they're going to be. And best part is Ryan Neal's now not on the field because you got Zion out there. Right. So you got all these rotating pieces on defense. Ben Johnson, I think, still has his game plan, and I think he's going to have at least some success. But you can't tell me in an offense where you're like Pless said, you have that one read. Jared Goff wants that one read.
Yes.
But if Zion McCollum and Antoine Winfield Jr. are going like this, it makes your test harder. If you were in Florida when you went to school, you took the FCATs, right?
Yes.
You're in 4th grade, you take the FCATs. If I give you that same exact FCAT test in Chinese, you're not going to do as well. You know what I mean? So that's Todd Bowles' advantage week to week is if we're going to see good Todd Bowles, the offense doesn't know what's going to come at them. You don't know what the front's going to look like. You don't know what the back is going to look like. So, and again, you don't even know, is Devin White on the field? You don't even know that at this point. So you have all of this mystery going in against a quarterback who doesn't know what's coming. I think there's going to be some success, but all it takes is that 1 to 2 throws where Jared Goff's confused or he makes the wrong read because the coverage isn't what he expects or the blitz isn't what he expects. That's a turnover. That's where the Bucs are going to win this game. How many threes? How many third down stops? How many turnovers?
Right. Absolutely. I think that's huge. And could we see a package of Antoine Winfield in the slot and then Zion McCollum as maybe a middle robber and then D Delaney as the free safety? Like, could we see that as a potential? I'm gonna propose this question up here. I just want to get your thoughts. I'm gonna change my mic because apparently Mark told me I don't sound good. So but just want to get your thoughts on this Godwin revenge game against Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. What do you think of that? Just of what Chauncey's been saying this week. Just expand on that.
Yeah, so Chauncey, I mean, it's very interesting. We know he's a notorious trash talker. We know that he literally got punched by a Bears player in the middle of a game for talking so much crap, apparently, that it pissed the dude off. And Michael Thomas, when he was in New Orleans, wanted to punch this guy every week in practice. So, I mean, we know CJ can talk the game. But I loved Baker's response, being able to say, hey, why are you talking about Russell Gage, man? Like, are you even watching film? I think that was a great response, very class act. Chauncey, tried to come all Devin White on us as a rebuttal saying, oh, I don't know if they know who they're talking about. I didn't talk about anyone. Like it's all bizarre. But I think for Chauncey, I mean, Chris Godwin kind of has his number right now. I know Chauncey really loves the game that he had against the Bucs that we were at, the 9-0, where he basically waved goodbye to Brady. That's great. But he's also been on 3 teams the past 3 years, kind of like the quarterback that he's making fun of. So I really don't think Chauncey has very much to talk about. And as long as the Bucs offense comes to play, I think he's one of the guys that you kind of have to pick on. They're kind of weak on the outside, but again, Godwin's going to be the chain mover. Mike Evans plays some more slot than what we're used to. He's going to have his hands full. So I hope he provides some bulletin board material so the Bucs can come out, especially Mayfield, and have themselves a day.
Right, absolutely. Let me know if I sound
a little. It does. Oh no.
better.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. I couldn't tell you lost your voice now. I just assumed your voice was lost. There we go.
All right. So I figure if I sound better now. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Chauncey Gardner, that's just who he is. He's going to bring that trash talk. Obviously talking about, if the Bucs had a better quarterback, the receiver group would be more dangerous. So that's fine. I mean, let Baker feel doubted, and he always plays better when his backs are against the wall. So I'm looking forward to that. I think, the things you talked about, attacking their outside coverage, I think attacking Cam Sutton, attacking the other corner. Let me pull up the depth chart real quick.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Their other corner here.
So
they're like, ESPN says they're playing. Let me see if I can bring this back up. There we go. So ESPN has them playing Brian Branch at corner, which is interesting. I know he's been playing
slot, yeah,
mainly slot. So I think we'd probably see some either Vildor or Dorsey, potentially. I know Melifanu and Gardner Johnson have been rotating there. So yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, definitely attack their passing defense. That's been the weakness of their team. So yeah, I think that's going to be the game plan, going in, trying to get explosives and trying to connect on those, because use Trey Palmer to take those safeties out, attack the middle of the field. I think that'll be a good thing. And then once they start to go to the middle of the field, you hit those shots over the top. And I think that will be a good opportunity, this Sunday as far as the offense goes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, just the back and forth that we're potentially going to see. We haven't even talked about, what about David Moore and just the addition that he's been like?
He's Scotty Miller clutch right now. What he is, he comes in, he gets one pass, and he houses it.
Yep.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah, like he's been a really good addition as far as just on the practice squad for most of the year, and then they finally bring him up because Raheem Jarrett gets hurt, which I never wish injury on a person, but I'm actually glad that Moore's up here and not Jarrett, because I think, again, he's just been better, a lot more consistent in what he brings to the table. And he's also a bigger receiver. Like people forget, like he's 220. That's why he's breaking these tackles, and he has speed to go with it. So that's always a good thing. I think that's been clutch. And obviously we get another look at Aiden Hutchinson versus Luke Gedeke. I think that's going to be fun because Luke Gedeke, my God, he just took Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat pretty much out of the game. Like he was pretty dominant.
Remind you, week 6, Luke Gedeke had a fantastic start to his right tackle journey to start the year. He got a lot of flack for saying, hey, like Aiden Hutchinson's great, but the guy in Minnesota,
Danielle Hunter,
Danielle Hunter is he's the best guy that I've gone against and probably going to be going against. And he came out and put our good friend Aiden Hutchinson in the blender. Which surprised me. I'm just going to be honest, because you and Josh Capo are the two people I know that were higher on Luke Gedeke than literally anyone else that I know. And you both were right. I mean, I didn't think the Week 18 game last year was that impressive, but also he played the whole year at left guard and was pressed back to right tackle, so give the dude some benefit of the doubt there. But yeah, you got your right tackle of the near future right now, and he's been doing great. He gets a lot of the worst matchups. No offense to Wirfs, and Wirfs dominated last week, one of, if not the highest PFF grade at tackle, and there's a lot of really good left tackles right now in the playoffs, and what was left over last week, including Tyron Smith, who got the All-Pro nod over Mr. Wirfs. But again, it's just like, hey, Luke Gedeke is everything that you want if you're not going to have Tristan Wirfs. You can't really ask for more, specifically in Tampa. We've had some really good tackles that have come through, but we never really have that guy who's above average. And the best part is he's going to only ascend. The teams are putting their best rushers on the right side, and he's held his own in more than. Hats off to him. He's had a fantastic year, and I'm excited again to see what he does against Hutchinson in round 2.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun matchup. So yeah, just looking at some of the key matchups, I think that's one of them. And then you look at, our defense versus their offense. I think
both sides. I feel like the trenches, and I'm sorry, I'm the offensive line.
Oh yeah,
the Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, if not the best. So our defensive line and Bulls blitz package, whatever it is, you got to figure something out against this O-line. That's going to be fun.
Right. I think that's where it starts, right? For our defense versus their offense. I think can Calijah, Vita Vea, can they really Vita Vea? Can Vita Vea have one of those games where he is just unstoppable? I mean, we've seen it at times. I know he's been sort of up and down as far as being that consistent pass rusher, but you see plays where he can just pick up a human, literally pick up a human and just throw him on the ground and get in. He tosses dudes around. And you want to see, can he put maybe 3 to 5 plays in this game where he just destroys someone and it causes a big play or a negative play for the Lions offense. I think that, Vita and Calijah, can they work together? And then obviously, can we do some games with our outside rusher, especially Yaya Diaby playing a lot more now? Can he be a factor against, say, a Taylor Decker or their right tackle, who is Penei Sewell? Those are two of the best, right? Penei Sewell is really good. That guy's a stud.
Watch what Calijah did to him in week
6.
Baldinger threw out a clip, and he called out the all-pro-ness that is Penei Sewell, and Calijah ate his lunch money. Yeah. And remember, that was one of the first games he was back too. So
yeah, right. So can that happen again? Can we find matchups? Can JTS do some things as far as moving around? Shaq Barrett, same thing. So I think that's what you have to do against them. You gotta get them moving east and west. I think that's when they're not that good. Any offensive lineman struggles when you have to move all of a sudden to your left or, move to your right. You get off balance. And I think that's going to be key for this game. And like I said, can we do the simulated pressures? I think that's going to be very important. Take away that middle of the field, make it think like it's going to be a blitz, and then drop back into those middle zones. And can we get hands on the football? Can we force Goff to be bad Goff where he throws interceptions? Because he has shown where it can happen, interceptions, especially early on in the game. I think he's one of those guys that kind of heats up as the game continues to go along. So I think that will be important. And so, one of the people in the chat, they said, again, Lions only scored 3 points in the second half against the Rams. And guess what the Rams did in the second half? They did a lot of double A gap blitzes. And that's something we do well, right? That is our number one specialty. If we're going to play Devin White, let the man go straight. Just let him run as fast as he can up the middle and try to wreak havoc that way. And even if he doesn't get the sack, at least he blows up a running back or something, and let someone else get in. But that'll be interesting to see how they operate with those. If they do some double A gap blitzes, maybe some press coverage to go along with that, mess up the timing.
That's going to be huge. Mess up the timing of the offense. And obviously Detroit's going to try to do similar things against us. So yeah, I'm really excited about this match. I think it's going to be really fun to see how it all breaks down.
Yeah, I mean, we saw firsthand what even got to Brady was even not even just sacking him, but messing up his clock.
Yes.
Jared Goff is not running around, and when he does throw interceptions, let's say we get a pressure and maybe get one early or something. Literally, what they have done, the Lions organization and Ben Johnson have literally just said, Goff, you throw an interception, we're literally going to hand it off to David Montgomery the next 12 plays.
Yeah.
Because we don't want that to happen again. Happened versus the Bears, happened versus the Cowboys, happened versus who else am I forgetting? Cowboys, Bears, and Packers. I believe he had another 2 picks. Yes. And so like it's literally from that standpoint, it's Goff. Can we just mess with him enough to get him out of rhythm? Because once he's out of rhythm and they start running the ball, that plays right into our advantage because yes, the Lions are one of the top 2 run defenses in the NFL. But for the past 4 years, Todd Bowles has been in the top 5 to 10 as well. So it's not like the Bucs defense can't stop the run. We saw what even the Eagles running at Vita Vea is not fun. Elijah Cansey makes it just as hard. Will Golston had himself a game. He put Lane Johnson on his ass a couple times. So, I mean, the defense can stop the run. So if you take, again, what was the first thing I talked about in this podcast? Goff's probably going for over 300.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you cut that down.
Yeah.
That takes away all of the Lions' opportunities to not only score, but score 7s. We talked about, holding the 3s instead of 7s. If Goff all of a sudden, instead of, having 300 plus yards like he's used to against the Bucs, you get that down to like 250 because those 5-yard, chunk play or 5-yard passes just become Jahmyr Gibbs dump offs behind the line of scrimmage. You're taking Amon Ra out of the game, so you're taking them out completely off their script. Whereas the Bucs and Mayfield, you can roll him out, you can do all of these things outside of the pocket. Jared Goff can only do a play action rollout, but he also does it really slow too. So if you're JTS, who's done really well against the run this year, if JTS can diagnose those types of runs, that's how JTS is going to get sacks. Elijah Cansey is going to do it when they're in shotgun. Vita Vea is going to do it when they're in shotgun. Under center, again, you pretty much limit what the Lions can do. If you can take away, what Goff is comfortable with, which is his timing.
Mm-hmm.
Goff is not a good quarterback if you take him out of his game because Ben Johnson literally, like we said, gives him the answers. You take away the answers or you change his pencil to like a brick, he can't give you the right answers. You know what I mean? He needs everything to be perfect. And when it's not, that's when the Lions have lost this year. And go look at it. The Ravens absolutely
they destroyed them. Yeah.
And what did the Lions do better, or the Ravens do better than anyone? Pressure, blitz. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. No, absolutely right. I think it's just, can Todd Bowles devise a scheme where he is pressuring, but he's also taking away that timing with coverage, whether it's, pressing in that first 5 yards, finding a way to eliminate those first couple options. I think, and G Vegas brings up a good point, Levante on Laporta. I think that's going to be a great,
by the way, too. So if Laporta isn't 100% self, what Levante did, granted it was a couple years ago on Kelsey.
Right.
There's no one else that I trust in that matchup other than Levante and maybe Antoine. That's literally it.
Yeah, Levante has definitely found the fountain of youth. I'm so sure about it. Like he went and explored for it and he got it. Like that dude does not age.
Well, and it's crazy because I got into something with a Seahawks fan that was literally just like, well, Levante needs to learn how to tackle because that's why Bobby Wagner has all of these tackle numbers that are more than him. Do you put up all the stats? Levante, okay, Bobby has more assisted tackles than he does, so total tackles. Levante outdoes him by a couple hundred in solo tackles.
Yeah, I know.
That's before you talk about forced fumbles. That's before you talk about fumble recoveries. That's before you talk about sacks. And that's before that you talk about literally any type of turnover affiliated play. That's Levante is not your traditional 1980s. I'm the big guy here to make a tackle up the middle. Levante, it was Fred Warner playing outside linebacker when Fred Warner was playing Pee Wee. Levante isn't that great of linebacker, and that's why I think it's really been unfair that he's been in the same boat as Kuechly and Wagner, who just got, here's your all pros and all of your Pro Bowls, because Levante played outside linebacker in a time where outside linebackers, you went up against a Marcus Ware getting 10 plus sacks in Dallas. Heck, like even Shaq Barrett getting 19 sacks in Tampa is going to outshine that. Like all these guys who got 10 to 15 sacks, you just get a Pro Bowl. You get a Pro Bowl. You get a Pro Bowl. No, it wasn't just Levante too. If you played outside linebacker and played a traditional outside linebacker,
right, 4-3,
yeah, 4-3, you're not getting. Derrick Brooks probably wouldn't have gotten a Pro Bowl in that system. Like that's just how it.
Yeah, the only reason Derrick Brooks got any recognition is because he got 5 interceptions, right, and he scored touchdowns on top of that in the Super Bowl years. So, that's the only reason he was really discussed as far as the national recognition. So yeah, Derrick, I think, and Levante, I mean, he's so good, just the way he plays. He can play inside, outside, cover people. And he makes consistent plays in the backfield, and he's always a sure tackler. So yeah, I mean, that matchup's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see how they switch different things with that matchup. Maybe that's where you bring in a McCollum to go up against Laporta, do different things of that nature. But really, I think it's going to be, how can you slow down St. Brown, especially in the screen game? Someone else brought up, their running backs versus our coverage. I think that's something to look at too, especially with Gibbs. We talked about that earlier. Gibbs and Montgomery, slowing them down and really shutting down their run game. That's going to be huge, and making it one-dimensional, trying to force, Detroit in 3rd and long situations, which we did. We did in the first game, but we just gave up 2 touchdowns on 3rd and
10 was way harder for us than 3rd and 2. The percentages of stopping were just insane.
It's crazy. Like 3rd and short, we're money. Like, this is a punt. Like they're going to punt the football right here. And 3rd and 10, it's like, well, they're going to get a first down. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter what we do. It's going to be
the Eagles, by the way, 0% on 3rd down.
That is crazy. It was crazy.
You stopped the quick push for the 2-pointer. We're the only team who've done it twice this year.
I think that pretty much put that game in coffin. Like I thought that was it for them after that.
Speaking of Zion, line up on side, dude. I know it worked out, but line up on side. You did it twice.
But it was just crazy that they didn't make any adjustments for what we were bringing. I mean, we were just bringing 6 men the whole time, and they didn't do anything to stop it.
They motioned people out. That was the craziest part. Like they bring Goddard in, and then they would even bring him in like a wide receiver, like he's Tyreek Hill. He'd come around the backfield and go run a route. Yeah. But that's one less person, like you're saying.
You're expecting to block. Yeah, you're expecting 5 guys to block 6 every time, and it's
your quarterback doesn't have a finger that he normally can. Yes, he hit the one deep shot to Devontae Smith, and that was their only touchdown.
That was beautiful play.
But that was it. If that's the only one that they're gonna hit, then play it like Foles did. You take that one. Antoine just didn't play it that well. Okay, if he throws it a second time, I trust Antoine to play better than that. Yeah, they hit one. Devontae Smith had a good game again, but we held them to 1-3. They got 1 touchdown, and then it was zip. Other than that, that's what this game is. I think it's a race to 31. But if the defense wants to hold them to 21, I think our chances to win go up exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be the big difference in this game, is because you're facing an offense coordinator, Ben Johnson, who he just gets it, right? He understands how to adjust. He understands how to put his guys in better position. I mean, we even saw that when they were here in Tampa, like his game plan, he realized real quick, like we are not running the football in this game. Like we just can't. So he made those adjustments, and they really just did, screens. They did, quick plays over the middle, drags, stuff like that to get things open. And of course, Jared Goff made some really good throws. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, well, we had some stops here and there. We held them to some field goals. And they only allowed 20 in that game. Granted, we didn't even have the best players on the field that week, as far as like, didn't have no Zion McCollum in there. We still had Ryan Neal, who just hasn't played well in this system. And I think our front is a lot better now with Diaby emerging, Cansey emerging. So I think there's some better things. And obviously with KJ Britt and Levante in there, I think that's a little bit better because Levante knows he can trust KJ to be in his spot. And it just helps your defense out knowing that the certain holes aren't going to be there now because Devin White's not in the game. And when Devin White does come in the game, guess what? They're utilizing him correctly by just sending him upfield in a blitz, or they're letting him just stay in a soft zone or go after the running back. So they're keeping it very simple for him, which I think is the right move if he's going to be on the field. So there's a lot of good things coming along. I think this matchup is going to be just really fun because, like you said, I agree with you. I think it's going to be the first one who can get to 30 points. And the big question, can our offense reproduce what they did last week? Like, can they continue to have that process and maybe just execute a little bit better with the catches? And guess what? You probably have 30 points easily if they can do that. I think that'll be the story right there. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Two really good teams, two really well coached teams.
Fun fan bases too. I think Bucs fans, other than probably the Bills, I think the Lions fans are, teams that you root for if we're not going to win it all. So again, if the Bucs were to go down to the Lions, I'm cheering for the Lions. I'm just going to be like the rest.
Yeah, I mean, and Tony S says, I mean, this is going to be a loud environment. I mean, the Rams, Baker talked with his Rams teammates from last year, and they said it was very loud.
I was born in '93. That was their last home game before last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole lifespan. That's how long some of those fans have been waiting.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah. Since the last playoff. Yes, exactly.
Playoff home game because Stafford happened to a couple. But that's their last home game. So again, with those ticket sales, no one wants to sell their tickets, which is why they're $100,000 because people want to go to this. They're going to be loud. They're going to be crazy. But you know what's even better is when you're on the road and you got them all quiet. You know what the Bucs did to the Saints in Week 4. Though if you're the away team and that happens, there's no better feeling. And if the Lions fans aren't going crazy because the Bucs are controlling the game, for instance, like they did last week, that's when you go home and you're like, wow, as a team, we did that.
Yeah. No, and that would be amazing if they can do that. I think Tom makes a great point here. I think getting points early, that's always a huge key to the game, right?
Still haven't scored a touchdown on the first drive.
I know. Yeah, and that's what Bud can now good. Yeah, he talks about it, and we're praying for that. We should have had one last week. Kate Otten, you got to catch the ball. So
the Colts game, Baker goes for the QB sneak and injures his ankle. It's like circumstances have been against us, but hey, if there's a week to do it, Bud,
it's this week. Yeah, absolutely. So let's and before we wrap it up, I just want to thank everyone that's in here. Please hit that like button, help support the channel. If you haven't checked out, we put out a video of Baker Mayfield's performance against the Eagles. Be sure to look at that. We'll probably have a Kalijah Cansey video for tomorrow. So really excited to see how dominant he was against the Eagles, and hopefully he can reproduce that against Detroit. But I mean, Ken, we pretty much talked about it as far as like keys to the game, but let's just go through some keys, maybe 2 to 3 keys that you think are going to be very important for the Buccaneers to win this week.
2 turnovers on the defense. I think that's what's going to take. Fumble, interception. I don't care how they come. Special teams, I don't care. 2 turnovers. Offense, again, if you can't hit 31, at least have 75% touchdown to field goal rate. You need to have those 7s be 3s. The Lions can control the clock in the game with either their run game or their short passing game. So each time we get the ball, it's going to count. And then I think it's going to be the deep ball. We got to at least hit one, if not two of those. Baker and Trey missed 3 in week 6. Just hitting 1 or 2 of those changes that landscape of the game. Last week, we could have blown out that game earlier than what we did. I think being able to see 1 or 2 explosives against a pretty weak secondary, and our offensive line is one of the better, not the best, but one of the better pass blocking offensive lines. So I think the opportunities are going to be there. So hit an explosive or 2, get 2 turnovers on defense, because we haven't gotten as many turnovers as I think people realize. That was part of our nice start at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Turnovers. And then when we hit the stretch of where we avalanched some wins, it was the offense just playing out of their minds, coupled with the defense playing good. They just weren't amazing, but they were good. Right. And then now it's okay. Like, we saw what happened in the playoffs in 2020. What happened? Sean Murphy-Bunting had an interception, every single game. Jordan Whitehead making that play on Aaron Jones, literally taking himself and Aaron Jones out of the game because he busted up his shoulder, but he forced that fumble. It's going to be those plays like that where it's going to be, hey, Carlton Davis, are you going to catch that pass, man? Because they're going to throw it at you. Are you going to catch it? Jamison Williams is going to get a deep shot. Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, they're going to take that shot. Can you come down with that ball? Hey, 2 turnovers, 1 or 2 deep shots, protect that ball ourselves. And I think that those are going to be my keys at least.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think for me personally, I think offense, it's going to be keep that same mindset, pass early and often, and score as much as you can in that first half. I think that's going to be really something to look for. So offense, can you reproduce what you did last week as far as throwing the ball first? I think that will be the key for the offense. And then defensively, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but can the front 4 cause enough havoc up front? And can you play coverage, play press behind that pressure to disrupt their timing offensively? I think that is going to be huge. Make them one-dimensional and find ways, like you said, to force Goff into maybe some bad throws where we can come down with it. Maybe Antoine Winfield pick 6, something along those lines. I mean, that'd be really nice.
Field too.
Yep. Right.
We retired Kelsey last week. That's a storyline I don't think enough people have talked about.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. So I think those are all good keys. Hopefully, that can come to fruition. And I think this is going to be just a great game to enjoy. I think all the games this week, this is probably my favorite round of the playoffs. I think the divisional round usually has the best games because, again, you're 1 game away from the championship game. And then after that, it's like, man, you're right there at the Super Bowl. So it's, it's just really crazy. And this is a part of the revenge tour, as Antoine Winfield likes to say it. So hopefully, again, Todd Bowles going up against the same, opponent he's already faced in season, which usually bodes well for him as far as how he schemes and stuff. And I know, Goff has had a lot of success, but maybe this is the time he finds a way to slow him down at least enough. So yeah, I think this is going to be really fun. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us. Great show. I've really enjoyed having you on here, Ken. Glad we got to do this kind of last minute, but hey, this is awesome just to talk Bucs football and really talk about a game that none of us thought we would be in, but it's awesome that we are. And thank you everyone who joined us. I appreciate all the comments, all the support, all the questions. And again, we will probably be back on Monday, our regular time and show. So that will be a lot of fun, and we'll have Mark back on here. Hopefully my voice, right. And my voice sounded a lot better here in the second half of the show. So that's good.
Hey, like the Bucs offense, you were just playing with the theme. That's all.
I was just warming up, just had to get it warm and we were ready to go. But yeah, so that's going to do it for us. Everyone, be sure to hit that like button. Again, comment down your thoughts below on the show as far as what you think of this game, how you think it's going to play out. But with that said, I think that's going to do it. Everyone have a great rest of your week. Go Bucs. And hopefully on Monday, we're talking about the NFC Championship game. Man, that would be crazy.
That would be insane.
Yep. All right. Peace out, everyone. Have a good week.